Homeschool families in Virginia and across the country need to pay close attention to what's happening in Richmond and then get involved in the fight for homeschool freedom. The threat level to homeschoolers in Virginia just hit a new high, and we have a plan, but we need all hands on deck for this one. I'm Emily Fort with the Homeschool Freedom Coalition. Homeschoolers all over the country are watching Virginia in January because we know that what the legislature gets away with in Richmond this session will spread to other states. So we're going to start with what folks in Virginia already know. In November, the Virginia House of Delegates had a seismic shift in their election in favor of the Democratic Party. It moved from a 51-49 split to a 64-36 Democrat majority. That's a huge, massive, powerful majority. And it changes everything about the upcoming session. And remember why this matters for homeschoolers. Last year, radical leftist Senator Stella Pekarsky filed SB 1031. This was a bill designed to regulate and ensnare homeschoolers in more red tape and regulations. This bill would have removed the religious exemption clause from the state's compulsory education law. This is the exemption that has protected homeschoolers in Virginia since the 70s. Okay? SB 1031 would have forced families to fill out extensive paperwork. This is terrible. They're going to make you prove that your kids are making progress. And this is such a joke because the most recent Nation's report card says that only 31% of Virginia's fourth graders are reading at their grade level in reading, and only 40% are hitting their grade level in math. But, of course, they still want to expand state oversight of homeschoolers and open the door to more testing requirements and future, state-approved curriculum. Like the door is open if SB 31 had passed, SB 1031. The bill, of course, was not random. Pekarsky and her anti-family co-sponsors ran that bill to set the tone of where they're headed and what they want to do to homeschooling. It's what they thought they could get away with in a 51-49 majority in the House of Delegates, frankly. And Senator Pekarsky has not had a change of heart. As a former Fairfax County School Board member, she got her start in politics, in part on the topic of education. And she still posts on X frequently about her unending support for the government education system. She just loves and supports Big Ed and the teachers' unions, but is apparently blind to the horrors that millions of parents are seeing every day. But that's not the point of this video. Here's the real question. Where do we go from here? What happens next? And what can homeschool families actually do? Now, I have 6 quick points that I would like you to see where we're headed and join us, okay? Let me walk you through, first of all, the next 8 weeks and the plan we at the Homeschool Freedom Coalition are putting in place. First, I want folks to be aware this is going to go fast. Virginia has an 8-week legislative session this year. It's going to move very, very quickly. See, after the 2019 elections, Democrats celebrated the state going blue, but a lot of time got wasted, and they didn't accomplish several of their top agenda items, and they've been mad about it ever since. They won't make that mistake again, okay? With a new governor and a huge House majority, we think they're going to come in on day one and try to slam through as much legislation as possible. And that means that we don't have time. That means that bills to regulate homeschooling could move in a matter of days instead of weeks. These bills could move before families even realize what's happening. So that is why we cannot wait. We are not going to wait for the bills to be filed or for committee schedules to be published or for rumors of who supports what. We have to be early and we have to be loud. And I'll touch more on that in a minute. The second thing I want to point out is the Senate is where we have a real opportunity, okay? A lot of people outside Virginia may not realize this, but the Senate wasn't on the ballot last month. So only the House of Delegates saw this seismic shift. So while the House is now 64-36, the Senate is still sitting at a 21 Democrat to 19 Republicans. This is one of the closest partisan splits in the country, and that narrow margin matters a lot because the Senate is the only chamber where we can stop hostile bills if we get very loud and never let up the pressure. So we have a short session. We have a very narrow majority, Democrat majority in the Senate. We have a House that wants to move quickly and hit all their big ticket items. If we turn up the pressure, real sustained pressure, the Senate is where we can hold the line. The third thing is here's what you can do right now. The first thing to do is simple. Just sign the petition below. This petition is how we mobilize homeschoolers. It's how we show senators that homeschoolers are very upset, we're very mobilized, and we're watching their every political move. After you sign the petition, we'll send you direct links to send your legislators pre-written emails immediately. It takes less than a minute on your end. Now, we've written some emails for you, but you can customize them, say whatever you want. The point is, we need to see thousands of homeschoolers emailing their senators early before any bill is filed, telling them very clearly to vote no on any bill that increases regulation, that adds testing, that touches the religious exemption that's been in place for decades, or expands state oversight of homeschooling. So and here's something critical, even if you think your senator is safe, their inbox needs to be overflowing. And this is tactical. This is how we get ahead of the fight instead of responding after damage is done. So why are we doing this? What's the point of, some emails, especially if my guy's already good on this issue, right? Well, here's the fourth point of this video. Our goal is to make homeschooling a political wildfire they do not want to touch. We have to make homeschooling the most politically painful issue of the session. And just keep in mind, Democrats have plenty of high-profile issues they campaigned on. Okay, most of them didn't campaign on, I'm going to crush homeschooling. So they have other priorities they have to deliver. We want homeschooling to be the issue that's easier to avoid than to take on. We want it to be the issue that creates headaches, that burns political capital instead of earning it, right? When they're thinking about filing another bill like SB 1031 or even worse legislation, that's very possible, we want their phones ringing. We want emails pouring in. We want their district offices overwhelmed. We want their staff telling them this bill attacking homeschoolers is not worth the pain, right? That's what we want. That is the strategy. We must make homeschooling, a bill to regulate homeschooling, frustrating. We have to make it messy and politically painful. We have to make it easier for them to focus on other bigger, big ticket items. So that's point 4. So how are we going to do that? This point 5, this is our Senate strategy. Of the 21 Democrats in the Virginia Senate, we are focusing on the 5 or 6 Democrats who barely won their 2023 elections. Okay, so these aren't the established elite that have been in their seats forever. They just got there and they barely made it across the finish line. These people, there are 5 or 6 of them we've selected that have margins of 5% or less that they won by. Some of these people won their seats by 1,000 votes, a couple thousand votes. These are very slim majorities, or these are very slim margins, right? So they are the lawmakers who, will vote, would be a vote for or against legislation to regulate homeschooling, but they are the weakest legislators in the Senate, and they cannot afford to alienate a single voting bloc, least of all parents who care deeply about homeschooling and parental rights. So with your support, we will run targeted digital ads in the districts of those weakest Democrats. We'll do texting campaigns. We'll do targeted email campaigns. We will keep the pressure on them to make them focus on other legislation. We're going to remind them, with your help, every day that voting against homeschoolers could cost them their narrowly won seat. Okay? This is strategic and it can work, but it requires numbers of homeschoolers involved. We need all hands on deck, and it requires resources. Okay? The 6th thing to point out is that if we don't fight now, they will keep going. Okay? At this point, after what happened in November, SB 1031 is not the end. It wasn't even the middle. This was the opening move. And now that they have this big majority in the House, or in the delegates, if we don't hold them in the Senate, if the lawmakers meet no resistance, they're going to take more and more and more. And there is always more they can take from parents. There's always more. There's always worse legislation that can come. So we must fight now, and we must fight effectively. That means being loud. It means being early. It means being organized. And we're not going to sit back and hope that someone else handles it. Okay? So right now, take action. Sign the petition. Share it. Help us pull more families into this fight. This only works if the pressure is there. So we will get you every resource you need. We'll get you the pre-written emails, the immediate connection to your legislators. We'll get you the phone numbers and scripts. We'll alert you when anything is happening. We want to make it very easy to make your voice heard in Richmond. If you are able, please chip in to help with this fight. We cannot sustain pressure in the Senate without your help. These ads cost money. The texting campaigns cost money. Mobilizing thousands of parents costs money. We are up against one of the biggest fights that Virginia homeschoolers have seen in decades. We cannot sit this one out. Join us. Stay free, stay the course.